There's a strange thing that happens when you try to remember a specific year of your life. You close your eyes, and there's almost nothing there. Not trauma, not sadness necessarily. Just a blur, a gap, like pages torn quietly from a book you're still trying to read. You were there for that year, but somehow it doesn't feel like it belongs to you. Problem deep dive. Maybe it was your early 20s, or a stretch after a breakup, after a move, after something ended. You can remember facts about it, the apartment, the job title, the people you saw, but the feeling of being alive during that time, gone. It's as if your inner life was on mute, running in the background, present, but not recording. And the unsettling part isn't even the forgetting, it's the quiet suspicion that follows. Was I even really living back then? This feeling has a name in psychology. It's connected to something called autobiographical memory disruption, the way certain periods of our lives fail to consolidate into coherent personal narrative. But to understand why it happens, we need to understand how your brain actually builds a sense of lived time, because it doesn't work the way most people think. Reframe. First, this is not amnesia. It's not a sign you were depressed the whole time, though sometimes that's part of it. And it's not a sign those years were wasted. It is, in fact, one of the most human things about memory. Your brain was never designed to record your life like a camera. It was designed to extract what was meaningful. And when life becomes repetitive, when the days start to feel like carbon copies of each other, the brain does something remarkable and quietly devastating. It compresses them. The years that feel missing aren't missing because nothing happened. They're missing because too much of the same thing happened, and your brain, being efficient, filed it all under one entry. Psychological mechanism. There's a concept in cognitive science called the holiday paradox, studied extensively by psychologist Claudia Hammond. Here's the core idea. When you're on vacation, doing new things, seeing new places, time feels fast in the moment. But when you look back, that week feels rich, full, long. Routine is the opposite. When every Monday looks like the last Monday, same commute, same tasks, same ceiling before you sleep, time feels slow in the moment. But when you look back, it collapses, it vanishes. The brain encodes memory through novelty and emotional salience. New experiences create what neuroscientists call episodic memory, distinct chapters stored separately with texture and detail. But repeated low-stimulation experience, the hippocampus, barely bothers. It doesn't create a new entry, it overwrites the old one. Or worse, it simply doesn't record at all. This is why the years that feel missing are often the years you were safe but somehow lost. The years of routine jobs and scrolling evenings. The years where nothing went wrong exactly, but nothing truly interrupted you either. There's another layer to this. Psychologist Dan McAdams spent decades studying what he called the narrative identity, the internal story we construct about who we are across time. He found that humans need landmark events to divide their personal timeline into chapters. Without landmarks, moments of change, challenge, decision, or deep feeling, the brain has no chapter breaks. And without chapter breaks, years blur into a single unmarked stretch, like a road with no signs. You were moving, you just can't remember the miles. Practical framework. So what do you actually do with this? Not a motivational pep talk, just what does psychology suggest? Step 1. Create deliberate discontinuity. The brain needs contrast to form memory. This doesn't mean you need to travel the world or make dramatic life changes. It means introducing difference, even small difference, into your routines. A new walking route, a book in a genre you've never tried, a conversation with someone outside your usual circle. Novelty doesn't have to be grand, it just has to be distinct enough for the brain to bother to create a new entry. Step 2. Anchor experiences to emotion. Memory researchers have long known that emotional arousal strengthens encoding, not intensity for the sake of it, but genuine engagement.
When you do something that actually moves you, curiosity, awe, discomfort, joy, the brain releases norepinephrine. That chemical tells the hippocampus, this matters, store it. So the question to ask more often isn't what did I do today, it's what did I actually feel today? Step 3. Use language to mark time. Writing, voice memos, even a single sentence at the end of a day. Research on expressive writing, pioneered by psychologist James Pennebrake, shows that putting experience into words doesn't just document memory, it creates it. Language forces the brain to construct a narrative, to make something coherent out of what was ambient and diffuse. You don't have to be a writer, you just have to make your experience speakable. Step 4. Revisit with intention, not just nostalgia. Looking back at old photos or journals isn't passive sentimentality, it's a form of memory reconsolidation. Each time you revisit a memory, the brain re-encodes it with more detail. The years that feel missing aren't necessarily gone, they may simply be unvisited, and the act of returning, even gently, can begin to restore texture to what felt blank. Step 5. Accept the compression without shame. Some periods of life are meant to be quiet. Not every year needs to be a peak experience. Not every chapter needs to be dramatic. But there is a difference between chosen stillness and unconscious disappearance. The first is rest. The second is a signal that something in your environment or your inner life was muted for longer than you knew. Integration. Here is the simple model to carry with you. Think of memory like a river. It flows whether you watch it or not. But if you never mark the bends, never notice the places where the current changed, where the water deepened, where something caught the light, you can travel a great distance and feel like you barely moved. The years that feel missing aren't proof that you weren't alive. They're proof that the river was moving underground, invisible but real. What changes things isn't trying to manufacture meaning, it's learning to notice, gently and consistently, what is already there. A new sensation, a true feeling, a moment made speakable. That's how a year becomes a chapter. That's how a life becomes something you can actually remember. If there are years you can't quite find, if there are stretches of your past that feel like someone else lived them, be gentle with that. The brain was doing what brains do, protecting you from too much, conserving what it could. But you're here now, and every day that feels different, even slightly, even quietly, is a day the brain decides is worth keeping. You don't need a dramatic new life. You just need to give your memory something worth holding on to. One honest moment at a time. If this reached something in you, sit with it for a moment before the next video plays. The pause, too, is worth remembering.